I'm Adam Wingard, the director of this motion picture. Doing a movie like this, it was such a great opportunity to create these new characters. With the Monsterverse, I always thought that what makes this kind of world unique is that the monsters have a simplicity to them. The Scar King's power really comes from his own monster, his own weapon of mass destruction. That's where 𝐈𝐧𝐼𝐵 came in. We wanted a new character that was both a match for Godzilla and Kong, and also looks different but doesn't jump the shark. The very first thing I pitched to Legendary on this movie was a massive finale with the monsters fighting within this anti-gravity field. And so I knew I wanted this big action scene with the characters flipping around and it's all chaotic and utilizing the physics of Hollow Earth. We knew that we needed the pyramids to be able to be manipulated by the 𝐈𝐽, and we had to create some sort of technology that would be organic to the 𝐈𝐽 and specific to the Hollow Earth in order to move them. And I'd just seen a documentary about Teotihuacan in Mexico, and underneath those pyramids, there were these large reservoirs that were apparently filled with mercury. So I was picturing, well, because there's this lake of mercury underneath this pyramid complex, that the 𝐈𝐽s also have a material that probably just exists in Hollow Earth that they can pour into it, and it would create some sort of chain reaction, and then the mercury would kind of harden and rise like yeast. I just love like crazy sci-fi ideas like that anyways. This is our sort of like more scary Hollow Earth, intimidating environment. Kong is entering this Titan version of Hades, and things get scarier and scarier as we get closer to meeting the devil himself, which is what all this represents. And you know, this was some of the stuff that I've been the most excited about in this film. With the Scar King, you know, right away I knew that I wanted like the influences I had to come through, which were, you know, 80s cartoons. I always liked how vibrant those kind of 80s cartoon colors were. And so I really wanted to see a Titan that was just cherry red. I knew I wanted him to have these big arms. I wanted him to be intimidating to Kong, but I wanted him to have a different physicality and a different advantage and skill set, and obviously his own weapon. And again, you know, when you're thinking of weapons for the Titans, you're always trying to think of something that feels like that they could have picked up and repurposed, and so that's where the idea of his bone whip came from, which is just super badass. And I think having the Scar King with a bone whip and Kong fighting with his axe was cool. This image right here I think is a cool one. Because the Red King is, you know, had this kind of cherry red color, I thought, well, maybe a lot of that's really paint anyways. And so he's got the most paint on, and you can see there's sort of like this showing of allegiance to the Red King, where they're taking this liquid and they use it as sort of war paint on themselves. You're always looking for cool, iconic locations to juxtapose the monsters with. So with this film, Egypt and the Rock of Gibraltar were two of the premier ones that we wanted to see right out the gate. You know, I've never seen Godzilla leap off a cliff before and dive into the ocean. Egypt was sort of like the obvious place to go. I mean, for one, the 𝐈𝐽s, you know, would have built in this reality the pyramids, and so that's why there's a portal right underneath it. And obviously the pyramids reflect a little bit of what is down there in Hollow Earth, and the pyramids are so iconic.
In this film, we get to explore not only new Titans, but other aspects of Hollow Earth.
We see new and different creatures, both friendly and foe, in Hollow Earth.
With this film, I wanted to really dig into the monsters, and in Hollow Earth, anything's possible.
In Hollow Earth, there are some familiar monsters, and there are also a bunch that you will have never seen before.
One of the things I was most excited about was being able to explore Hollow Earth in a way that we didn't get a chance to in the last film.
We wanted to do a deeper dive in the diversity of Hollow Earth.
To really think about the ecosystem more, you know, what's down there once Kong is living there, what would he survive off of?
We're trying to fill out the biology of Hollow Earth, that it's not just about these incredible, huge, powerful Titans, but there have to be other creatures there.
The challenges are coming up with different creatures that really pull the audience in.
Proximity alert.
The Predator's 9 o'clock.
Those are verticines.
They're a problem.
No, they're totally harmless.
We have a creature called the verticine, and they almost looks like water creature that flies because we give them this back fin and black and yellow color.
Monarch has developed biomimicry camouflage, and the verticine was a great one to demonstrate that because their pattern is so unusual.
The warbats are gigantic winged snakes.
What I like in this one is you get a moment where you see Kong acknowledging that there's things in Hollow Earth that he just doesn't mess with.
The wart dogs are these herd-like creatures.
I think initially they were actually called wart dogs because I was kind of picturing them having a bit more of a tusk, like a warthog, but the name just kind of stuck.
We wanted to have an almost nature documentary opening sequence where you're coming into life in Hollow Earth as it proceeds every day.
These are nasty little guys. They're all sort of like rabid creatures, all scrapped up in fights and things.
The wart dogs were really trying to get a creature that was both interesting and unique to Hollow Earth, while also being not quite so cute that it doesn't bother you when Kong eats them.
I guess apparently delicious to Kong. They're a good little treat.
Titanus Doug is an incredible, fun character who, honestly, the fans named.
Titanus Doug is a very special character because in the last film, he was literally only in one shot, and the MonsterVerse fans really latched onto him.
Adam was just like, man, that would be a great way to round out the MonsterVerse, the kind of Titan that you know isn't battling anything else, that's just hanging around and is a great character.
We really had a lot of fun with the parrot frog. I like the idea that there's creatures that would be able to parrot other sounds on Hollow Earth.
And then we have Mama Snake, as we call her. This creature lives in this lake.
This snake lake creature was inspired by something that feels realistic just on a gigantic scale.
We don't show how the scene ends, even though, I mean, the fans know it's Kong.
Oh my God, they woke him up.
𝐈𝐧𝐼𝐺 a very ancient Titan that has come out of hibernation. She's a very dangerous Titan because she's so powerful.
Her wonderful icy breath, that's her main weapon. She uses it to freeze creatures and titans and massive amounts of water.
The Scar King discovered 𝐈𝐺𝐼𝐺 in Hollow Earth and is able to effectively use 𝐈𝐺𝐼𝐺 like his personal weapon.
Even though she's this ancient Titan, she's also one of the most immature. She doesn't really have her personality built in, so Scar King has kind of taken advantage of her.
We always thought that it would be great if it was actually 𝐈𝐺𝐼𝐺 who long ago had frozen Ghidorah in the ice in King of the Monsters, and that sort of echoes what's going to happen in this movie, where we see Godzilla in the ice and 𝐈𝐺𝐼𝐺 just applying this crazy power all around the Hollow Earth.
𝐈𝐺𝐼𝐺 unleashed on Earth, you can see how terrible that would be. We say in the film that 𝐈𝐺𝐼𝐺 caused the last ice age, and we begin to fear that that could happen again.
It was fun to be able to go back and show not just new creatures in Hollow Earth, but show different aspects of ones that we developed in the last movie. I like the fact that I can really stretch my imagination out in the same way that you would if you're making an animated movie, and whatever you dream up, you can create. That's what we were able to do with this film. We were able to explore Hollow Earth, dream up all these new creatures. They brought it to life, and they looked really cool.